Okay, I think we're ready to get started. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this beautiful afternoon ceremony. My name is Caitlin Shea and I'm the Events and Media Director for Walt Whitman Birthplace. If you're not familiar with us yet, we are a museum that's located in Huntington, New York, which is on Long Island. And we feature tours of the home that Walt Whitman was born in 201 years ago, almost 202 years. Next month is his birthday that we'll be celebrating virtually as well. Come back here. There we go. And we're so happy to have you joining us. We have a wonderful afternoon planned here. We also have many virtual events, and I just want to remind everyone, I'm going to be putting links in the chat so you can join us for these virtual events that we have coming up. We have one on Wednesday that's actually a partnership with the Jackson Pollock Lee Krasner Museum, which is also located on Long Island, and it's Pioneers of Poetry and Paint. So we hope you join us for that on Wednesday. That's Wednesday afternoon. And again, you will just register for that the same way you registered for this event here today with a $5 suggested donation. And I also want to start off every program by saying thank you so much to everyone who donates to us. It means so much. It really makes these programs possible. So even something small like $5 that you might spend on a cup of Starbucks coffee for us means so much, especially right now. I know everyone's coming back, things are opening again. So even the smallest donation just means a lot. It means multitudes to us, so thank you. And your presence means so much to us too, having you here with us, seeing all your faces each week. So thank you so much for that. All right, so we're ready to get started. I'm going to hand things over to Walt Whitman Birthplace Association Board President, Jack Coulehan. And Jack, I'm gonna give you the spotlight right now.
Okay, thank you, Caitlin. Well, I'm very happy to welcome everyone to our virtual celebration of our Poet of the Year award, this year to Cliff Bleidner. You know, a major part of our mission at the Whitman Birthplace is to carry forth the legacy of Walt Whitman into the 21st century. And part of that is to support and encourage excellent poetry. And to do that, in 2002, I believe, we established the Long Island Poet of the Year Award. You know, we have a very, very large, flourishing, and wonderful community of poets here on Long Island. And each year, we choose a poet who's not only known for the excellence of his or her poetry, but also who has been a major participant in teaching and serving and supporting the poetry community on Long Island. And this year, we have our 20th Poet of the Year, Cliff Bleidner. I want to say, before I turn the podium, so to speak, over, that we will ordinarily, when we're doing this in person, we award the Poet of the Year a plaque, and also, of course, we enter his or her name on our plaque at the birthplace. This year, because we are unable to present the plaque in person, we will send the plaque by mail after this ceremony. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Richard Bronson, who is a member of our board, as well as being a wonderful poet and a friend of myself and of Cliff, to give an appreciation of Cliff Bleidner. Richard?
Thank you, Jan. So Cliff is one of my poetry maestros. He enabled me as a newcomer to join the poetry scene on Long Island 25 years ago and to mature as a poet. The Performance Poets Association, which Cliff co-founded in coordinates, has established venues in coffee shops and art galleries and libraries throughout Long Island where people may gather, listen to poets recite their work, and partake of an open mic. I love the communal nature of the events, which allowed so many people of different backgrounds and skills to read their poems to an interested audience. This is how I learned to become comfortable with my own voice reciting poems, leaving behind my PowerPoint slide lectures at the med school, and I thank Cliff for this. Then there's the annual PPA Poetry Contest, now in its 25th year. I've participated both as a contestant and as a judge. So fair, the algorithm established to rank the submitted poems, another quality of Cliff's fairness. And the gathering of everyone at the end of each year to hear the winners read, to acknowledge them, to celebrate poetry. And do not forget the PPA Literary Review, published for 24 consecutive years, which I look forward to reading each year, not flashy, but solid. Year after year for the decades, in a quiet but firm, masterful way, Cliff has nurtured poetry on Long Island. Thank you, Cliff. I'm going to turn the mic back to Caitlin.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, and next we're going to hear from 2019 Long Island Poet of the Year, J R Turek. Thanks for being with us, JR. I'll hand it over to you now.
Thank you. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone, and happy Poetry Month. Oh, a last minute addition, this is, Cliff, and this is PPA related. So don't forget that the 12th annual Haiku contest is still open for submissions. Okay. I'm delighted to be here. I'm honored to be invited to speak about Cliff, our Walt Whitman birthplace, 2021 Long Island Poet of the Year. First, I want to thank Walt Whitman Birthplace, Cynthia Shaw, the director. Thank you, Jack Coulehan. Thank you, Richard Bronson. Thank you, board members and trustees. But really big thanks to Caitlin Shea, who is the most organized host I have ever met. So Cliff. Cliff and I have been through a lot together. We've hosted hundreds of poetry events, award ceremonies, literary series, lectures. We worked together on the PPA Literary Reviews. We've read together, we've featured together, we've even carpooled together. Cliff is loyal, humble. Never have I known him to be late for an event ever, but he is the best secret keeper I know. Some people don't realize that for the past 24 years for the PPA Literary Review Poetry Contest, and for the 11 years for the PPA Haiku Contest, that the winners are kept locked inside of his lips until he presents the awards. And that's a secret keeper. He's a retired pharmaceutical chemist, a substance abuse counselor, a Vietnam vet. Thank you for your service, Cliff. A haiku master, a formalist poet, proficient at villanelles, an expert at Dante. He gives an amazing presentation. So as a poet, honoring a fellow poet and a dear friend, I present to you Cliff Bleidner, a sestina in tribute to the Walt Whitman Birthplace Association 2021 Long Island Poet of the Year. It's quite a title, Cliff, but you'll get used to it. I'd like to tell you some things about Cliff, not just the co-founder and coordinator of PPA. He writes free verse, likes form, especially haiku. He's a master at creating a successful villanelle. And today we're here to applaud his new award as Walt Whitman Birthplace Association 2021 Long Island Poet of the Year. He's been keeping poetry vibrant on Long Island year after year, coordinating a monthly calendar full of readings, Cliff manages 2 amazing contests from submission to award. There's an annual poetry and haiku contest from PPA, and in between readings, he manages to write a villanelle or 2 and fills his notebook with sanryu and haiku. Some people have dubbed him the master of haiku, well-deserved title. As such, he judges the haiku contest every year. And on the other spectrum of writing, he crafts his villanelle, circular with heroic couplets that function so well. Cliff isn't just a Dante expert and co-founder and coordinator of PPA. He manages the contest for the winners and presents each award. Today, we turn things around and present him an award. And he'll read us some of his poetry, including a few haiku, many of which can be found in the literary reviews at PPA, an anthology published annually, and this is the celebratory 25th year. I have immense respect and admiration for his talents, and Cliff, I hope when you read, you'll read at least 1 villanelle. For those who don't know the structure of a villanelle, 19 lines rhymed, 2 repeating lines, each deserves an award. The repeating lines, the heroic couplet, are signature Cliff, as are the aha snapshots, captured in a max of 17 syllables, haiku. Cliff is a retired chemist, loves math and a good baseball year, a Vietnam vet, mentor, dear friend for many years, all beyond PPA. For many years, we've hosted in East Meadow and Levittown for PPA. He's inspired me to delve into forms, including the circular villanelle. We Zoom, we stay connected. We're more resilient in this pandemic year, and so we gather virtually. We support you, applaud you for this award. For 25 years of PPA Literary Review and Contest and 12 years of haiku, the poetry community salutes you with gratitude. Thank you, Cliff. PPA Coordinator Extraordinaire, 2021 Long Island Poet of the Year Award for mentoring, providing poetry gatherings for villanelle and haiku. Smile. Be proud, Cliff. Take a well-deserved bow. This is your poetic year. Keep doing what you're doing. It's working. And so.
Very nice.
Villanelle.
Very nice. What a surprise.
That's my surprise for you. Next time I see you, there's your Sistina. Congratulations, Cliff. And thank you.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, Judy.
Thank you.
Let me just set this up here and then. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Cliff Bleidner, and thank you for coming today. I would like to thank the Walt Whitman birthplace for this great honor. I am proud to be Walt Whitman Birthplace Poet of the Year. I would like to thank the birthplace for its support. This is very important, for its support of the Long Island poetry community, that giving us a place to read, giving us a place for fellowship. That's what I've tried to create with poets, you know, from PhD to guy who just started, to guy who just walked into reading, that kind of fellowship that we're all in there together. And you know what? We've been through a continuing world crisis. I don't have to elaborate on that. I would like to wish all of you out there in Zoom land, be safe and be well. That's like Ringo says, peace and love, peace and love. I say to everyone, safe and well, safe and well. My personal heroes in life were, you know, poets and scientists, of course, but also people who left the world better than they found it. I think that's most important. That's what I've tried to do with PPA. And there are some very special people that totally get what we're trying to do. And this is, we've had many staff members in the past who've come and left, and I wish them all well. And it was great working with them. But on staff today, you know, I am the coordinator and co-founder, and poetry events coordinator is Lorraine Conlin, and she's in charge of public relations. And also Judy J R Turek is in charge of public relations. They both do a great job. And the poetry event hosts, there's Sharon Anderson, Paula Camacho. Paula hosts our poetry workshop. And Lorraine Conlin is a poetry events host. Kathy Donnelly, Peter V. Dugan, Gladys Henderson, Lisa James, Gloria Little G. Murray, George Pafitas, James Thomas Romano, Karen Schulte, Barbara Southard, Doreen D.D. Spungen, and Judy J R Turek, Pramila Van Cataswaran, and Margaret Wall. We used to have a dozen events a month, and I hope they all come back as we heal from this. And composition and graphics, we have a typist at Perfect Pro to type, Phyllis Darcy, and we have Jack Zaffos. We have Lorraine Conlin doing some of that, and the proofreader for the literary review is Judy J R Turek. And we have people who contribute poems. We ask them to contribute. People are doing something for the poetry community. And we have people who contribute art, and the staff members decide on what's to be printed in each literary review. Okay. So my definition of poetry, let's get into that. My definition of poetry is doing something artistic with language, okay? Language is the media that we work with. Like the painter does that with paint. Like, you know, we just paint our houses with paint, but the painter sees possibilities in that paint. He does something artistic with it. And like the sculptor does something with granite, does something with stone, does something with wood. He sees possibilities in that. And we just use it for construction. And advice is, don't let your personal opinions interfere with your judgment of art. What comes out, use it, work with it. And another thing, poetry is about economy. What I try to really do is put 10 pounds of dynamite in a 1 pound space. That's the best way I can say it. As for the poetry I write, you all know of my love affair with the haiku since April of 1984. So it's a 37-year anniversary. And I'll start with that. And examples of a few of my haiku. One of the first successful haiku I ever wrote, and I share them twice with a pause in between. The rose and sunlight and its shadow. The rose and sunlight and its shadow. And, you know, it's about, the rose is beautiful. We need sunlight to see it, but it does have a shadow. You know, we all have that Jekyll and Hyde nature to ourselves. New fallen snow. All I can do is damage it. New fallen snow. All I can do is damage it. Full moon on a starry night until pond ripples give it away. Full moon on a starry night until pond ripples give it away. And what I like about that is that comes out of Japanese and Chinese literature, that kind of reversal, of elements, like flower in the sky, cloud in the water, which is, and the way the ripples is, there's a wave nature to space that I know as a scientist, that waves go through space all the time. And a final one, this sunflower can never eclipse the sun. This sunflower can never eclipse the sun. And it's about my relationship with something greater than myself. And you can raise up a sunflower and block the sun, but it's all false. That's haiku, and it's about nature, okay? And Sanryu was invented by a guy named Sanryu and named after him, Japanese guy. Is about human nature. Trying not to look, but looking at the man's burned face. Trying not to look, but looking at the man's burned face. Okay. And another one, just 3 cents a check from my old company. I live to suck their blood. Just 3 cents a check from my old company. I live to suck their blood. So that's the difference between haiku and Sanryu. And most recently, in Literary Review number 24, I published a haiku sequence, and haikus can be written in sequence, and they should stand on their own and be part of a sequence. And this one came out just about all at once, and I wound up refining it in about a day or two. Sometimes it happens like that. Sometimes it takes forever. This is Haiku Sequence Whiteout, driving through Eden. A winter white sky, snow on these bare branches, the squirrels sleep in. A winter white sky, snow on these bare branches, the squirrels sleep in. Across a wide street, 2 snow-laden tree branches entwine. Across a wide street, 2 snow-laden tree branches entwine. Looking alive and well in the falling snow, evergreens. Looking alive and well in the falling snow, evergreens. Garden of Eden with snow on it and roads. Garden of Eden with snow on it and roads. Watch it, big seagull. You almost hit my car. Wake up. Watch it, big seagull. You almost hit my car. Wake up. A few more snowflakes on the snow-laden bough breaks it off. A few more snowflakes on the snow-laden bough breaks it off. And that completes it. And this is in Literary Review number 23. And unlike that one that came out almost immediately, this one I spent years collecting the one that I would think would be most appropriate, because I was listening to a music collection, I think by George Winston, called Winter into Spring. And, that kind of clicked with me. I said, what about a group of 4 haiku that would be the transition between the seasons? I could have winter into spring and spring into summer and so forth. So these are the ones that finally made the grade. The first one, winter into spring. Peeking through the snow, these few crocuses. Peeking through the snow, these few crocuses. And there's a kind of concrete nature to it, that the words represent the crocuses and the white background represents the snow. Spring into summer. Brilliant yellow to ugly green, the forsythias always go first. Brilliant yellow to ugly green, the forsythias always go first. Summer into autumn. The hot days still here. There is that long yellow stripe in the old oak tree. The hot days still here. There is that long yellow stripe in the old oak tree. Autumn into winter. The branch almost bare. The last leaf leaves. The branch almost bare. The last leaf leaves. So in that one, when I was a long distance runner, I used to train, and summer into autumn, I would run, part of the course I would run facing this old oak tree, and autumn always started with a stripe in that tree. That was the first place I saw autumn anywhere. Okay, this is the Haiku Sequence. So it's about human nature. And this may be the final version. It's called Middle Grounds. It's about the middle of a decade of my life, in the decades of my life. So I've gone, I just turned 74, and I've gone as far as 65. So, and it's Haiku Sequence, Middle Grounds, as far as I know, the final version. In my mid-60s, I have fewer and fewer old friends. In my mid-60s, I have fewer and fewer old friends. In my mid-50s, all my favorite books falling apart. In my mid-50s, all my favorite books falling apart. In my mid-40s, I climb upstairs slower and slower. In my mid-30s, I get very drunk and very, very fearful. In my mid-30s, I get very drunk and very, very fearful. In my mid-20s, I eat my dinner, then my dessert. In my mid-teens, I break my mother's grasp and hug my girlfriend. In my mid-teens, I break my mother's grasp and hug my girlfriend. At 5 years old, I find the 9th Street schoolyard and feel like Columbus. At 5 years old, I find the 9th Street schoolyard and feel like Columbus. And just a couple of comments that as I got older, I had to hold a railing climbing the stairs in my mid-40s, and I was going to school in Manhattan, and these kids were still flying up and down the stairs. And I mean, these stairs were like 2 floors high, And, you know, and I used to do that. I used to do that, but I couldn't do that anymore. And at the age of 5, I lived on a school block, and it was in the shape of an H, and I found the other schoolyard on the other side. And, you know, it was a great discovery for a 5-year-old. And there's actually the haiku is part of Japanese literature called the Haiku literature. And there are many different forms in using haiku in different ways. So they are the haiku, they're tanka, haibun, and sequences of haiku and ranga. And I would like to read haibun, which is prose in haiku, and haiga is like a picture in haiku. So this is a haibun. It's called A Love Story. I met Joanne and Barbara at a writer's retreat long ago. They met at a Christmas party a few years before that. Barbara was a nun at the church that Joanne attended with her parents. Joanne was a younger biochemistry student. They became fast friends, and then feelings developed, which neither wanted to acknowledge for a couple of years. We did an exercise at the writer's retreat where we worked in pairs, talking one-on-one about our difficult times in life as a source of inspiration, while the other pairs observed. When it came to Barbara and Joanne's turn, Joanne cried out these words in pain. "My parents won't see me because I'm a lesbian." We all felt the cutting edge of her words and her pain, like a samurai warrior had suddenly appeared and cut through us all with that sharp sword that they wield with 2 hands and swing like a bat. Barbara hugged her and comforted her. We all could see how much they were in love. Barbara did not speak about her family, the order of nuns that she left for Joanne, or anything. What was that like? And this is the haiku. It was a tough ring to take off. She was a nun, no more. It was a tough ring to take off. She was a nun, no more. So basically that's, those are different kinds of haiku verse that we use to express ourselves. Going to get back to where I was. So I already talked about the haiku, and I write in some other forms, the sonnet, the villanelle, the rondo, the limerick, the pantoum, and concrete poems, and on occasion a form of confessional poem that I have invented myself called a biographical poem. And the biographical poem is a prosy poem, and it's about the front of the line, not the back of the line. Okay, starting with the biographical poem, it's about the front of the line and not the back of the line, and it flips back and forth, starting with it was, what year it was, and I was, what age I was. And it moves into something pivotal in my life, some vivid memory. So the first one of those poems that I have is called Leaving Eden. Leaving Eden. It was 1960. I was 13 years old. It was the last Howdy Doody show. I was not as interested as I used to be. It was the last minute of the show. I was watching anyway, had nothing to do. It was the last minute of the show. The last minute of the show. And Clarabelle, who never talked, only honked, said, "Goodbye, kids." I was growing older. So I've written many of them about different times in my life. And there's a form that I write in, another form I write in is called a pantoum. And the pantoum is in 4-line stanzas, and it has, and this is a rhyme, and this is a rhyme, you know? It's like an A, B. It's like AA, and this is BB. Okay, and then this becomes the second and fourth. The first and third become the second and fourth of the next one. And it keeps going like that. There are new rhymes coming in and old ones leaving. And the shortest possible pantoum, going back to my minimalist roots, the shortest possible pantoum would be 3 stanzas of 4 lines, 12 lines. So I thought of what could a short pantoum be? What subject? And the first thing that came to mind was a short pantoum about trying to write a short pantoum. A short pantoum, a crazy idea with limited room and space so dear, a crazy idea with nowhere to go. With limited room, my verse won't flow. Okay, and you know, I did write a few of those. I was, you know, all right, off the cuff, wasn't 100% happy. So I got this big back burner that I just put things on. Okay, and I waited for something better to come. Okay, and recently there was a 3-part series on Ernest Hemingway's life, and one of his most famous works. I didn't write this just now, but eventually I got this idea to consider this as a subject of the pantoum. And I just called it Short Pantoum. For survival, not glory, an old fisherman fought. It became an epic story, a giant swordfish caught. An old fisherman fought a losing fight with sharks. A giant swordfish caught, the skeleton bears the marks. A losing fight with sharks, it became an epic story. The skeleton bears the marks for survival, not glory. And that story and that metaphor has been used for so many things. Like a scientist makes a great discovery, catching the giant swordfish, and then, you know, everybody tries to take credit for it. The businessmen and the promoters, they're the sharks that eat the swordfish because it's too big to get on the boat, and all he has left is a skeleton. But really, it's about the story on the surface is everybody's got to eat. It's about survival, that the sharks have to eat, and the old man's got to eat, and he goes hungry. And the skeleton of the giant swordfish lays on the beach, and everybody says, "Oh my God, look at the size of that! What a great, you know, what a great feat it was to catch that fish." Okay, I write sonnets, and sonnets are usually about love. Okay, sonnets are usually about love, and I've written plenty about love. But you know, in life, we have to find our places. We really to find our places where we're happy, and that takes time. And that takes a lot of pain because we visit the wrong places in order to find the right places, right? Okay, that's what this is about. And it's like the barest, baldest thing I ever wrote. It's called the No Love Lost Love Sonnet. Okay, the No Love Lost Love Sonnet. They knew that I was different. There was nothing that they could do. I knew that I was different. There was nothing that I could do. They tried to make a go of it, but didn't know where to go with it. I tried to make a go of it, but didn't know where to go with it. They knew I didn't belong. It was only a matter of time. I knew I didn't belong. It was only a matter of time. Sometimes you have to hit the wall like this, bang, splat, to know exactly where that wall is. And this poem is like a sonata. It's a musical piece in 3 movements. And not like I know a lot about music. I was saving that for my 50s and never got there. But this is kind of similar to it. The forms, the poetic forms all come out of music. That you have the sonnet coming out of Italian music and Italian poetry, and you have a lot of French forms that come out of French music. Okay, next, I'd like to read a kind of concrete poem or assembled poem, assemblage, and it's about, we're all told, don't ever be cliche in poetry. That's not good. Don't be cliche. Okay, so I assembled this poem. This poem it's an assembled poem, and it's kind of concrete. That is called Dancing Cliches Away. Okay, and it reads. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 stanzas and 4 very simple stanzas. And it goes like this. It takes 2 to tango. 3's a crowd. Get it? And if I could turn this. The first stanza is it takes. And the second stanza, 2, 2. And the third stanza tango, 3's a crowd. And the fourth stanza, get it. And the T's are all lined up and they tango down the page. And that's what a concrete image is. And that just occurred to me. I could use the T's that way. I could have put a 4th cliche in. I could have put a 3rd cliche in there, like T for 2, but I think it's strong enough with just 2 rather than 3. So another one. I was watching TV, and there was this wildlife show, and the announcer, it was about elephants, and the announcer said, "Elephants understand what death is," and an elephant's trunk took an elephant's skull and turned it and looked at it like it knew what it was. And so I got this idea, an elephant's trunk, that's 1 line, turning an elephant's skull. So 3 lines, but that's not even much of a haiku. So I thought a little further, and if you take those words, like an elephant's trunk, and then you write turning down the page with the G hanging, Turning, and the G hangs, and then an elephant's skull, that the living elephant has a trunk and the dead elephant doesn't. And what's the best title for this poem? You know, I just waited for that to come, and the title for this poem is Alas, Poor Yorick. You know, Shakespeare knows everything. That's you know, he's one of the great references, Shakespeare. Okay, so I am going to read, speaking of Shakespeare, I'm going to read a villanelle. And one of the lesser known plays of Shakespeare is Cymbeline. And Judy spoke about the heroic couplet, which is two rhyming lines that are very strong. And you can, if you find two rhyming lines like that, and the villanelle is on two rhymes, if you find a second rhyme that clicks, you can make something out of it. And the song at the gravesite of Cymbeline is golden lads and girls all must, as chimney sweepers come to dust. Again, golden lads and girls all must, as chimney sweepers come to dust. And you know what? I'll confess, I always had a big resentment, this big, and even bigger, against beautiful people, because I felt like they had a leg up, they had advantages. So that's what we do as poets. We just bring ourselves to this material, and something inspires us. So this is a villanelle called Apology to Cymbeline. Golden lads and girls all must face that inevitable fate. Golden lads and girls all must face that inevitable end of fear. Like chimney sweepers come to dust. Out of the womb, so beautiful they bust, crash landing and shedding many a tear. Golden lads and girls all must. Growing up, they grow an outer crust to shield them from pain felt here. Like chimney sweepers come to dust. They face this ugly world with disgust. Opposite their beauty, they turn and sneer. Golden lads and girls all must. Given many accolades, mostly unjust. So spoiled, they cry and cry in their beer. So spoiled, they cry and cry in their beer. As chimney sweepers come to dust. Getting old and gray, they just can't adjust to losing their beautiful bodies so dear. Golden lads and girls all must, as chimney sweepers come to dust. And I learned later on that in Shakespeare's neighborhood, there were these flowers called chimney sweepers. And if you picked one of them and blew, the pollen would fly out, you know. So I kind of found that an interesting note to the poem. Okay. I would like to next read a prose kind of poem, prosy kind of poem called A Losing Fight. And this is I get this from Homer's Iliad. When it comes to facing death, we all are like Hector facing Achilles in the Iliad. When we are young and strong, death is not even on the battlefield. We have no trouble hurling boulders at his ships and hurling boulders at his troops and setting his ships on fire. We even think that we've encountered death in the battle and killed him, and are insufferably pleased with ourselves until removing Death's helmet. We realized that it wasn't him at all. It was some imposter. Feeling very confident, we discard our own armor and don that of Achilles. On hearing of his cousin's death at our hand, Achilles has new armor made and enters the battle. He comes at us with the common cold, fever, bruises, and scrapes. We beat him back easily with medicine, bandages, and drugs. But he comes back at us with slips and falls, broken bones, frozen joints, car accidents. Again, we beat him back not so easily with stronger medicine, stronger bandages. Then he comes at us again and again with heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. And we counter with surgery, chemotherapy, more drugs, and specialists. We just get the best of him. We seem to get weaker as he gets stronger. We retreat to the high ground of our education, our accomplishments, our great loves, and our children. As he stands at the bottom of that hill, making his way up very slowly. After all, he's got plenty of time. Nobody gets out alive, the New Ages tell us. Should we be an actor fretting on that Shakespearean stage full of sound and fury, signifying nothing? Or not go gentle into that good night, rage, rage against the dying of the light. One last time, with that sword, we charge down on him. Death sees us coming at him, and he also sees the chink in his armor. He raises his spear, and we are his. So, you know, we poets, we write literature about literature, and that's an example of that. That poets create these things, and as poets, we can work with their material. This is a rondeau, and that's a rondeau is a French form, comes out of French music, and there's a whole family tree of rondeaus that I can't go into. But there's a rondeau that is like an Italian sonnet with ABBA, ABBA, these, and it has a repeating phrase at the beginning, the middle, and the end. And that seems to like me best. That seems to be the rondeau that I can write with and have been able to express a lot with. And the other ones, not so much. And that's the thing in studying form, that certain forms you'll be able to work with, certain forms you won't. Like, you know, that beautiful Sistina by Judy. I haven't written a Sistina yet. Oh, to sustain the Sistina. So this is a rondeau called Spiritual Question. This is a rondeau called Spiritual Question. Have I touched heaven? Who, me? Not me. Someone like me? No way, Jose. Someone like me? I say nay. Someone much better than me? Maybe. Someone more spiritual than me? Not me. But somehow for me, a brand new day. Have I touched heaven? There was that warm, fuzzy ecstasy that lasted an instant one day. Now I am different in some way. I can't quite say it, even see. Have I touched heaven? And that have I touched heaven, of course, is the repeating phrase. And it's about, you know, it's about me asking whether I had a conversion or not. And I think that I've had. That I am different than I used to be in many ways. And one thing about forms, they don't scare me because I'm scientific and mathematical, and I do fit myself into them pretty good. And and after limiting myself to the haiku, I could expand into space. I don't have to really cut myself down. So this right here is, I'll go to another autobiographical poem. It's called Hatred's Parade. It was 1985. I was 38 years old. It was an unusual sample that came into the laboratory. Folger's freeze-dried instant coffee. I was informed that a supervisor, M.A. McGillicuddy, in another lab was rushed to the hospital. A week earlier, she recovered. It was after extensive testing of this priority 1 item that a toxic substance was found, which was another lab sample. I was aware of the hatred among the workers for this supervisor and the general hatred and unhappiness that existed in the plant. Quite frankly, I wasn't shocked, not one bit. It was inevitable that something like this would happen eventually. We were a sports car speeding to a cliff edge. I was not surprised that someone from that lab resigned mysteriously, and our beloved Marianne McGillicuddy very quickly became plant manager. How about that? It was not hard for me to write the moral to this true story. You must have the patience of Job at work. Why do you think they call them jobs? So how's the time?
I think we have time for 1, maybe 2, if you're up for it, Cliff, more, and then we'll go to our wonderful comments afterwards.
Okay, I tell you what, I got one, let me see. I got, I guess, one longer poem. Let me see right now. Let me just this is a poem called Missing Pieces. And it's another poem about seasons. And that's kind of how the stanzas are grouped. Missing pieces. She could get me to see the colors of spring. Even though I was this perceptive scientist poet, I didn't see them. I could help her with her math to the point where she became a nurse. She could get me to the beach in summer, sometimes. It was easier for Hercules to get Cerberus out of hell. I could get her to stand up for herself, even though she was the perennial shrinking violet. She could get me to see the full colors. Again, even though I was this perceptive scientist poet, I didn't see them. I could get her to be less clumsy. Oh, you think? We had our own episodes of I Love Lucy. There was the cold winter of realization that we were over. I kept us both in cigarettes and matches until I quit smoking and started running. She kept us in Coca-Cola until I switched to Diet Pepsi that she never liked. And through this process, 13 years to be exact, we both became complete, self-reliant individuals, and we are together no more. And thank you for listening, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Cliff. So powerful, your reading and just seeing into your process the way that you shared with us. And I want everyone to unmute for just a moment so we can give a big, well-deserved round of applause for Cliff Bleidner, 2021 Poet of the Year.
Good job, Cliff. Congratulations.
Congrats, Cliff.
Congratulations, Cliff.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
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 Wonderful.
Congratulations.
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 Bravo.
Congratulations, Cliff. God bless.
Thank
you, Cliff, and congratulations.
you.
Congratulations, Cliff.
Did a great job, Cliff.
Congratulations.
Cliff.
Well deserved.
That was really good. Really good.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Congratulations.
There on Zoom as much as you can get.
That was great.
That was so good. Really. I'm so glad I got to hear you for an entire hour.
That was an hour? Oh my God. Yeah, almost an hour, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Well then, I want to make sure everyone remembers to mute because we're getting some echoing and like a little bit of feedback. I'm gonna have you just one at a time come on video.
Thanks for
Congratulate Cliff. So just make sure everyone mutes for a moment.
good luck beforehand. And I
Okay, there we go. I just want to make sure that we can hear everyone who's giving their congratulations clearly. All right, so I do have a great comment in the comment section that I just want to go to first, and then we'll have everyone come on video. Maria, would you prefer to come on video, or do you want me to read your comment?
You can read it. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know what's easier for you.
Well, come on video. You're here with us, so just if you
Okay.
can get to it.
Okay, so Cliff, I've heard much of your work over the past 20 years, some odd years. And an early gift that included was that my late husband, Gil Fagiani, won a PPA prize that really encouraged him to write. And he ended up writing 8 books. And I know he co-hosted a series with you, I think in Westbury for a while. So he used to go from, Brooklyn to Queens to Westbury. But you've watched so many of us grow and work as poets, but this was really a gift to hear you reading from haikus to villanelles. So mille grazie. And my mother says the same. She congratulates you. So you made a big impression. Thank you, Cliff.
Thank you.
So good to have you with us too, Maria. All right, and then I just want to go to Kate S as well. Do you want to come on video, Kate? Or
Sure. Hang on. I should be right now. I just am very touched. My name's Kate, and I know Cliff socially for many years, and I just am very touched, Cliff, by your sensitivity and your articulation and your smarts. I learned a lot about you today, about your career. And I just want to say that Cliff always invited me to join the writers group and get involved. And I was just lazy, and it's time to bite the bullet and put that on get that ticked off my bucket list, because I have been writing for a long time and I have no idea about the discipline of different forms of poetry, and I'd like to learn. And I see a lot of the teacher in you, Cliff, and I want to learn. And so I was very touched by that last thing you shared. I loved it. And oh boy, and the thing about the beautiful people. I wrote a poem called Starbucks Girl, and I was looking at her outside, comparing her outside into my with my insides, and I had the same resentment. And I love that you shared that. So I want to get involved, and I want to learn. I want to make mistakes. I want to be new. And I just love this group. And Caitlin, thank you. And there's so much more to do in life, and I'm 62 and I want to be new at this and get your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. We are a bunch of older people, so we're in your age group. You know, one of the problems is that it's the second law of the universe that young people don't want to hang out with old people, you know, and so we do have trouble getting younger people to join our groups because they have their own groups.
Well, I love you even more now that you've let me in a little bit more. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's good to see you.
Wonderful. And so now I'm going to invite people one at a time to come on camera with their comments. And there's so many beautiful comments in the chat. We just can't get through all of them, but I will make sure that Cliff gets the chat separately so he can see all the wonderful things that you're writing in there. All right. So if you just start speaking, the camera will go to you.
Yeah, I'm Mary Jane.
Hi, Mary Jane.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, Cliff. Congratulations. I too know him socially. What I'd like to do is read a poem of his that's pretty short that I happen to have got my hands on, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay. It's called Sonnet, Making It New. I was searching for an oasis so I would not fall into a growing, yawning abyss that would end it all. A very close friend offered me a hand, a road that would bend to a joyful land of people who made it new, the rise of a brand new sun, this happy and joyous crew showing me again how it's done. The oasis is now us.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
I really liked
Mary.
it. I have it pinned on my bulletin board.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to say something, Cliff. You were
Hello.
so generous at every reading that we never got to hear all of you in this wonderful long reading. And I hope you do more because it was wonderful and your work is brilliant. You're a very generous man and you've been so kind to the rest of us. I'm glad that, you know, some of it comes back a little bit to you and we get to celebrate you today and listen to your work. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, this whole idea of fellowship, I've tried to extend to everybody because you know what? I was angry and isolated and kind of lonely in this area of my life for 20 years. And you know what? I decided to be the man. I decided to be the person, be the nucleus. When in 1992, these big bookstores opened, when the Clintons came to office, and you know, they had events in the bookstores, and that's where I met a lot of poets. I met a lot of other poets, and we started to read together, and we formed an organization. And that's kind of where it started.
Wonderful.
And 4 years later, we did form PPA and publish our first literary review, have our first contest. And that's where it all started.
Yep. Well, you see, you're the golden boy now.
I'm the gray boy, but
The golden
I'll say golden.
All right.
But I
Very,
just,
very good.
I'd like to briefly congratulate Cliff. I've known him for a number of years as a poet, and I loved hearing him read today. The breadth of his experimenting and his poems is an eye opener. But as a leader, he has been self-effacing, but always there, always there. He is so deserving of this honor. Congratulations, Cliff. Love you.
Thank you, Evelyn. It's always good to see you.
Evelyn had a reading with us a few months ago virtually. So if you go into our YouTube, you can see her event, Walking with Whitman. And of course, you'll be able to see this event as well on YouTube in the next week. So you can share it with your friends and contacts as well. All right, anyone else want to jump on camera?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, come on. Who said yes first? We'll go to you first.
I think it was me, Jack Zaffos here.
Hi.
Cliff, you know, I've heard you read many times and present, but something about this presentation, I really got to know you in a much more extensive way. And I can tell you it was quite wondrous. Just hearing about you and how, you know, and over the years and how you developed PPA and all that. And, you know, one thing that I, you know, really appreciate is the importance of bringing your whole self into the whole poetry thing, you know, all the warts, the pains and you know, as well as the joys, and using it all as, fodder and just kind of, using it for good purposes.
Well, thank you, Jack. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I'd like to say something if I could, Cliff.
Sure.
This is Rita Rose. And over the years, I've enjoyed your haikus and everything, but the most memorable time for me is when I was featured at Sip This, and it was such a terrible rainstorm, and you came in and I read Suffragette Crowns, and you loved it so much you asked to put it in the PPA, and I'll never forget, I was really honored by that gesture. So I thank you again and congratulations today, Poet of the Year.
Oh, thank you very much.
Can I say something now? Hello. Hi.
Yeah. There we go. Hi, Sasha.
Hello, Sasha.
Sasha, go ahead.
Oh, you know what, Sasha? I think you're covering your microphone. We could hear you for a second. Hold on. I think you have your hand over the microphone.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I really am so honored to participate in this afternoon because when I first started writing poetry, I was very, very unsure of myself. And I really didn't have much confidence. But the first award that I won was a PPA award, a first place award, which goes back many years ago. And that award, Cliff, stirred me on and allowed me to continue writing. And through the years, I've been in many, many PPA anthologies, always proud to be part of your publications. So I really want to thank you for your dedication, for your perseverance, for all the work all the hard work through the years that you've allowed this publication to grow and to blossom and to make it what it is today. So I'm happy to be here and to say congratulations, Poet of the Year.
Thank you, Sasha. You know, I'm seeing everybody and I miss them so much.
Me too.
Yeah. Hey,
Oh.
all right.
I just
How
wanted
are
to
you,
say,
Gladys?
Cliff, first of all, congratulations, so well deserved. I mean, if there's ever been a person who is so inclusive of people and honoring to who they are as a poet and as people, it would be you. And that alone is gold. I share something with both Sasha and Richard and in the discussion and probably many other people, which is that when I first started writing poetry, I really was a poet for many years, but was frightened to share my poetry with anyone. And it was you, Cliff, that invited me to read. And at that first reading, it wasn't too many poems either. I can tell you that I had a pain in the back of my head that I thought I was going to faint, maybe even die. And and it's hard for people to know, to even imagine that, it's easier for them to say, could you put a lid on it? So you brought my poetry and my writing along. And I know that that's what you've done to many people who have never said that to you. This is an honor that's right for you. You should have had it. And I'm so glad that the Walt Whitman birthplace has made the decision to make you the poet of the year for 2021. And I applaud your reading and who you are. You're just an amazing person. And I thank you for that.
Oh, thank you very much.
If I
It's so good to see everybody again,
Cliff?
even in Zoom.
I'd like to say something to you, although I've said it to you already. The heartiest congratulations for something that is so well deserved, of course. But I want to thank you for all the support you've given to everybody that comes in contact with you, and for helping broaden my own poetry life, bringing me into the fold. You've given me more than you know, but thank you and congratulations. Enjoy this year completely.
May I join?
Yeah, hello?
Yes, just start speaking. The camera will go to you. You might be muted.
Okay, am I coming through now? Hi, unlike mostly everyone else here, I didn't even know who you were until today. So I'm so glad I came upon this reading because I'm experiencing a lot of physical issues at the moment and I'm miserable, but now I'm not. It's been a wonderful hour. I'm a closet poetry writer, and I've recently looked at some of my journals and found some of my haiku written in 2014 during an episode of fourth stage cancer, and wondering kind of what do I do with this stuff. And being here today has said to me, just keep going. So I appreciate that, and I thank you, and I congratulate you.
Well, thank you. And the haiku contest is open until April 30th.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking of that.
Well,
but
you
I
can
will.
send me, send me some stuff, and we have a flyer that talks about how to do it.
Okay, how do I get that?
I guess it can be. We can send it by text or email.
Caitlin, can you help me with that?
You definitely can, Barbara. You have my email, right? events@waltwhitman.org.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. But I also wanted to just add that listening to you talk about the various forms of poetry has been like a 101 course in poetic forms, and I found that very helpful. It's kind of like a starting over and watching someone explore his life through these different forms. And now we're old. And we can, just pick and choose from them now. And I think it's something to celebrate being older and an older group, because we're in our own category. And it's so nice to have that, you know, hindsight and work with it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. There's a thing that I forgot to mention. The way I started writing in forms, I got this book, Poetry Handbook, 4th edition by Babette Deutsch. And what I did was I read in front of the book, it told how to use it. So I read that, and then I read the book onto 4 hours of audio tape. Okay. Wow. And then I played that tape. I played those 2 tapes as I drove, and you know, with the readings, I was doing over 10,000 miles a year. And I just listened and listened and listened to the different forms and the structures. And, you know, and I created these empty pie shells in my head, and eventually pies started filling.
I love that.
You know, I actually brainwashed myself into writing in form, you know?
That's interesting.
Very interesting.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I didn't know that male poets made pies. That's
Yeah, see that? I made pies in my head.
Mud pies.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Cliff is actually my uncle. So
yes.
Hi there.
My sweet niece.
Hi there. So your other sweet great niece is outside. She's just too much. I have a 1.5-year-old, so she was very loud. So I'm sorry that she won't be on here, but we can talk with you individually.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say how proud we are, and it's really it makes my heart very full to see how many people each individual is touched in their own way. So I'm just being honest. You don't always understand what poetry is, but I just know how much near and dear it is to your heart and how much has gotten you through in the years. So it's nice that you're reaching out even on Zoom and you're helping others each and every day, even with a global pandemic. So just keep on doing what you love, and you're pretty amazing, and we all love you.
Yes, I love you too, my niece. And
I look forward to seeing you next weekend.
Thank you for coming. Yes, I hope to see you soon.
Yeah.
Hi, Cliff.
Hello, John.
How you doing? I met you a few years ago. You've
Yes.
always been quite the gentleman. You lived a full, very interesting life, Cliff, and you shared most of it through the decades with us here today. Your knowledge is amazing. I get great confidence out of you, and I enjoyed your day of recognition. I just want to wish you all the best and congratulations, well deserved.
Thank you very
Have a
much,
nice day.
John.
You're welcome.
Hi, Cliff. I want to congratulate you.
Hello, Mark.
Thank you on your well-deserved honor. And if you don't mind, I'll tell a little secret. I had been away from poetry for a year while I was going through chemo, and I was trying to make my way back into coming to the readings. And boy, I struggled to walk and to get there. And I found out later, after I had that first return, that you had actually followed me home to make sure that I had got home safely. So you're not just the man of the year, you are the gentleman of the year. And I thank you for all your encouragement.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
So many beautiful stories and so much beautiful sharing here today. I'm so happy that we're able to come together. I just want to, anyone else want to jump in? I want to make sure there's room.
Hi, this is Christine.
Yes, hi, Christine.
Hi, Cliff. I just
Hello.
wanted to say thank you so much for all the time you helped me out with the haikus when I didn't know what I was doing. And congratulations on your honor. It's so well deserved. And have a very good year. Enjoy it. And I hope to actually see you in person soon. Thank you.
Yes, I hope that we come back and as in the poetry groups in some way. I don't quite know what yet, but we'll see what happens. I miss those good old times at SIPTHIS.
Yes, we do. We do.
Else want to jump in?
Yes.
Yes, I would like to jump in. I'm ridiculously late. I'm coming right at the end. I couldn't come in, but I just wanted to congratulate Cliff and say that his role in the poetry scene is just so remarkable and wonderful. And he's been enormously kind to me and to Poetry Street and to every poetry venue I can think of. And I just want to say that it's so well earned, and congratulations.
Thank you, Maggie. I haven't seen you for a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, what a beautiful day it's been. Oh, someone else want to comment? I don't want to.
Sure.
That's okay. You go first.
Sure, come on.
The voice. No, I'll just wrap it up at the end. You go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say to Cliff, he turned me on to haiku. As he was reading, I was saying, wow, I could really do that. And because he said you put 50 pounds of dynamite in a 1 pound bag. And that really resonated with me. So I want to thank you for turning me on to it.
You're welcome. You
I'm
know,
Diana. Gladys's
Monk
friend.
and I have tried to haiku-ize Long Island. I have to give Monk a lot of credit too for his, for his haiku calendar. And
well, you got another
things.
convert right here.
All right. Okay. Good to see you. Yeah.
Hi, Diana.
Yeah.
Diana.
Hello, sweeties. Hello.
Good to see you.
So thank you for that gift, Cliff. I feel like you gave me a gift today.
Good.
I really mean that.
I'm glad it's a great thing. It's a great thing to do. I mean, like Japan is the haiku nation. Just about everybody writes haiku. From Butcher Baker, Candlestick Maker, Dr. Lawyer, Indian Chief. And that I originally, in 1984, I took this haiku thing, and it was from Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it changed my life. You never know when a few short hours are going to change your life.
Yeah, when it hits it. And it also gave me another gift, because when I get off, I want Gladys to tell me what a villanelle is, because I have no idea, but I'd like to know. Oh, I see Judy there. Hi, Judy. Hi, sweetie. Yes. Oh, but thank you again, Cliff. Thank you. Hello, Sasha. Hello. Good. So nice to see you. Yes, my love to you, sweetie. Yes.
Sending you hugs and kisses.
Oh, and I'm sending them right back to you.
Everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Wow, what a great day. What a great day. Yeah. It was a chance to get to know who the real Cliff is with this session. It told us who you are in so many ways. And that's really nice.
It's like Jamie White says, it's all in the poetry.
That's right. That's what Jamie does say.
Yeah.
No question.
Thank you.
Wow. All right. Anyone else want the spotlight for just a moment to say their thanks? All right, and there's so many wonderful comments in the chat as well that I'll make sure that you get to see too, Cliff. But I'm just thinking, you know, Whitman has a huge following and they call those people Whit maniacs. And I feel like we have Cliff maniacs today. Certainly, you've brought so many poets together. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing. I see so many poets that I see frequently, and I hadn't met you yet, Cliff. You're a little off the grid, as they say, but it's so great to see you now virtually. I think everyone's so happy to see a longer reading with you this way. So glad that you had this honor this year, especially. We would have this be virtual. Normally, it would be in person only. So people came from far and wide today to see you and to hear your words and to hear more about your process, which is also so fascinating and inspiring for so many people. So thank you so much for being with us, Cliff, really. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it very much.
So happy to, so happy to. And I also just want to remind everyone, we have links in the chat, but also Cliff was talking about the haiku opportunity. That's also in the chat. It's a JPEG. So what you're going to want to do for that one is you're going to open that up and take a screenshot on your phone. Or if you're on a computer, maybe take a picture. I think a lot of people are going to enter that now. They just learned about it. So it's right there in the chat. Make sure you see that. I'm going to put some other links in the chat as well. One more thing quick. We have this great opportunity coming up for Walt Whitman's 202nd birthday next month, where we would love it for people, for you at home or wherever you're located, to take like a selfie video of you reading from Leaves of Grass, about 2 minutes long. And we're gonna have this beautiful event where we have people from all over the country. We even have someone already from the UK reading from Leaves of Grass. So many different voices. You know, Whitman is the poet of democracy. So we'll have all people from different walks of life sharing of reading with us that day. So that will be May 31st, the actual event, and May 7th is when it's due. Our deadline is May 7th. All right, and if everyone wants to unmute again, I think we need another big round of applause. Also for everyone who shared today. They brought so much here to this wonderful event, this ceremony.
Yay! Wonderful. Good to see everyone.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Really.
Congrats.
Hey.
I'm going to put those links one more time because they're kind of, again, so many beautiful comments that it's easy to not be able to find them again. And again, that haiku is up there too. All right, I hope everyone has a wonderful week and we see you again virtually very soon.
Thank you, Walt Whitman Birthplace.
Thank you, Walt Whitman
Thank you.
Birthplace.
Yes.
Hey, yes,
Make
thanks,
a
Walt
copy
Whitman
of that.
Birthplace.
Thank you, Walt Whitman Birthplace.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Beautiful, beautiful afternoon, really.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Walt Whitman Birthplace.
All of you make it so beautiful too. Your contributions. It takes a lot of people to bring something like this together. So thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. You've given us all a home.
Yeah.
Thanks,
True.
Caitlin. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to give everyone another moment to get those links just in case.
That was wonderful.
I know we're so lucky to be in touch with so many amazing poets. They really make these events. All right. And if you didn't get those links or you have any questions or you want to contact another poet that was here today, you can always email me at events@waltwhitman.org. All right. Thank you so much, Cliff. What a beautiful afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
Yes. All right.
It's been a long time away from away from the Fellowship of Poets.
Yes,
We got you a little more on the grid today, just for this. So it's good.
wonderful. On the grid today.
All right. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Be safe.
Yes.
Bye-bye.